orchestra, for me, is such a traditional, historic sounding ensemble that to find a way of creating something that's relevant within that institution, which is so traditional and so bound by protocol, and part of a historical continuity, to exist within that as a composer today is very difficult because it's very hard to make sounds that make sense. I have the same kind of feeling about operatic singing. How does that fit into today's soundscape, in the modern world? When pop singing seems to be much more natural and folk singing seems to be much more natural within today's context. And so the idea of writing concertos, once again, it's this idea of getting away from that really historic sounding group and actually creating something that is focused on a social dynamic, amongst players. That's really how I'm able to deal with writing for an orchestra. The difference between straight orchestral music like symphonies and concertos is that in concertos, and this is why I'm drawn to them, the focus is on the relationship between one and many. When you do have this relationship, by default, it seems to me, it's going to be a really dynamic relationship, because it's the assertion of the self or the integration of the individual into a larger group. There are all kinds of relationships that you can explore, but whichever one it is, it's so full of potential to be incredibly dynamic and exciting and powerful. I've always been drawn to and moved by people who are really pushing the limits of what's possible. So, the Olympic Games, breaking the speed record, all that sort of stuff has been very powerful for me. And it's the same in the making of music. I've been drawn to virtuoso musicians because they are pushing the boundary of what's possible. Not for the sake of virtuosity, but to explore and discover new musical terrain. And of course the concerto just automatically puts you into a situation where you're dealing with somebody who is at that level of playing, pushing the boundaries.